So, the Surgeon Adventures now. Yes, it's been a long time coming, let me tell you. I said in my introduction I wanted to go into the topic of the spin-off as I feel none of us here get to talk about it. I mean, there are some of the stories I've wanted to talk about, such as Invasion of the Bane and how I like its different but stylish direction courtesy of Colin Teague, or how I love the second half of Series 2 of his last three stories and their focus on different types of families, which make it one of the best group of stories in the show. But it was actually a very different story to a lot of them that actually got me thinking for once, and that it was the Series 3 story, Mona Lisa's Revenge. So, let me tell you what I thought about it. At school, Clyde finds out that he's won an art competition that details the art of the future that he didn't apply for, Luke giving him one of the artworks to the competition to be judged. But as his prize, he and his art group are sent to the National Museum of London, which unfortunately doesn't exist in real life, as they also have the first glance of seeing the Mona Lisa in the UK. But it seems that Mona is more animated than she first seems, as she finds her way to escape the painting to bring something familiar for her back to life. I like the plot of the story, how it basically has an early Buffy feel of the evil following the team even though they're not around in the school, as most of the stories would be. It also has a great feel to the story how the trio use the environment and the objects around them to help them, especially in how they get set up in part 1 to pay themselves back in part 2. With the examples of the drawing pad in the very beginning of part 1 or the Chinese puzzle box in the middle of the episode. Out of the trio, of course, Clyde is the real MVP of the episode, and like in Warriors of Kulak for Series 1 and Mark of the Berserker in Series 2, this is generally his episode of the series, and it is his time to shine with as many talents that was of course brought up in Mark of the Berserker, which is talent to sketch and draw, being put to the test here. Almost like Mark was used as a stepping stone to build to this episode, would have been used for the good, the bad, and not necessarily the uglier parts of the episode. The art gallery owner Lionel Harding, played by Jeff Roll, is one of the characters which I really like in the episode. He has that great blend of humour with the facts of art that he really brings. He also gets to grow as a character when he meets the titular Mona Lisa, as they share a side story together about her trying to live as a proper person, where he, an idol of hers, tries to give us the best he can, even going to place a home inside the museum to make sure that she can still live, but also can be remembered, which is very nice of him. But it is useful that he isn't completely evil, as we've mentioned before with the Chinese puzzle box. He destroys it to not let Mona Lisa bring out the abomination, which even he would object to properly letting out himself. The music of this story is very atmospheric and works with the story overall, including a little piano piece that plays the first sight of the Mona Lisa image that fills the artistic picture perfectly. The character tracks from Mr. Harding and Miss Trupp are very delightful, still fitting with the artistic tone of the episode, and how both characters are very different to each other. Even the Mona Lisa gets a violin theme which works with her uptight character, and how she acts in the story, which also gets a great series rendition when Sarah J meets Mona Lisa at the end of part 1, which works with the fact of the encounter very well, and is a great progression into the music of the characters of the episode. Shame this is only for part 1, as part 2 doesn't boast the same progression, but rather goes to repeats. There's also the Dark Rider character, who is also a great addition to part 2, as he doesn't get to speak as he wasn't painted with a mouth, which is a really nice addition to the character. And the fact that he gets away with actual gunfire on CBBC, which was a nice surprise at the time, unless you were watching Horrible History, and I should really watch HH again. Oh, and by the way, I didn't know where to put this bit, but you can also call this so bad it's good. But I love the scene where K9 appears from Clyde's drawing pad, which is a great, nice touch, by the way. But Luke says, "Don't mess with my dog, Lisa," which cracks me up every time I watch it. And I'm thankful it's chosen as one of the clips to represent the episode on the official YouTube channel because I love it to bits. Don't mess with my dog, Lisa! And your host, Talking Rat. Okay, I'm gonna have to say this now, but I really don't like Luke in Series 3. I don't know what it is to have it Tommy Knight trying to act older, but Luke is unlikable in the series. And suffice to say that it was fine to have him in the episode, but his attitude during the scenes of Sarah Jane in the bedroom in the start of the episode really don't make me like him more in the series for it. Instead of calmly agreeing with her to tidy up the bedroom, he complains that Sarah wants him to make him perfect, just like the babe made him, which really isn't what she means. It's supposed to be a more human scene for such a different character, but then again, it's either the writing or the performance that really drags it down for me, and I wish it would have been more thought out. Of course, this story was the one where Elizabeth Sladen had to have some time off, but I think she acts a bit too stern for Luke, who really shouldn't be, as again, Luke isn't perfect sometimes and needs a bit of guidance, but I feel that the performance by her went a little bit too far in that scene. Saran Jones' Mona Lisa. Now, I liked her as Idris in 2011 as the Doctor's wife, but her performance in the story is very weird, and I don't get the context why. She comes off a little too close to home and more 21st century, which isn't explained in the story, of why she does it, when she was a painting that was created in the 16th century. I would have possibly liked a little story explanation to why and how it could have worked better, but unfortunately she is the weakest part of the story. But it's not a big detractor, but certainly doesn't make it the worst episode of the series. And yeah, there's no reference to the City of Death, the other story where Mona Lisa is involved in the plot. Now, I do get it. Perhaps it would have not been a good idea to place it, despite the fact that these are the adventures of a classic Who companion. And the last series even had a character who was predominantly in the classic series. But I think, as a person who enjoyed the next series, which is full of classic references, it's just a little disappointed that we didn't get one since the Mona Lisa was relevant to that plot as well.
And I think I'll start with some target practice.
In conclusion, this episode is fine. It may have some setbacks with the performances of some of the characters, but it's still a good quality episode from the series overall, with a sense of humour and its focus on Clive, which I enjoy from the last episode he had a focus with. So to see another one where it's just himself driving the episode and the plot forward was nice to see. The music is also great with some of the tracks that work well, and the newer characters just add to the episodes to give it more of a singular feeling compared to if the episode had nothing to distinguish it to some others. It's certainly not the worst, and it wouldn't be low in my Sarah Jane Adventures story ranking. So I give this episode a 6.5 out of 10. Now, of course, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and perhaps I may return back to Sarah Jane Adventures at some point to talk about the different stories that could be hidden gems at some other point. But hey, that may not happen either, so you may have to wait and see, faithful viewer. Just wait and see.